They were good? All
Hey
right.
guys, we're live. Welcome to
Hey, good
another
afternoon.
Google Hangout session with Swing Surgeon Golf. We got Don and Doc online. So I'll turn it
Oh,
over to Don and Doc.
He's Don, I'm
okay,
Doc.
I'm Don. You're Doc.
And I'm Doc.
That's
Just just
Brady.
in case people just in case people are confused by who's who.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Don's the pretty one.
Yep. All right. All right, okay, Doc. Let me ask you on this. We spent a lot of time working on the Doc and Don clubs, our signature clubs, I guess we might call them, swing surgeon clubs.
I like
Uh,
that. Maybe
and
maybe we could call them double D clubs.
yeah, whatever. And
Then,
Okay.
how's
then I
how's it
have to
going?
go and change all the stuff on the website. Don't change the product name.
How's it,
Okay.
I'm
how's
just
it
joking.
how's it
You know,
going? I mean, we
if we
spent a lot
called
of
them
time
double
working on
D's,
it.
I bet more people would buy them because I don't know many guys who don't like double D's. But anyway, go on. So
Yeah, okay. Well, how's the clubs coming?
I stripped
How
them
they
up,
looking,
Brady.
and what are you doing with them?
Oh, I've been playing them for a while now. I'm playing the Forge model. Um, I think they are a really good club. They look good. I'm excited about them. The fact that we've got them in the lineup now that the company was doing them for us and allowing the co-branding. And I think for a lot of the diehard Surgites, um, they would enjoy having something with your name on it. It would be a good thing because we're not just selling the clubs, we're providing the fitting through the long distance fitting for them, which is necessary. We did make a change, whereas we were requiring payment up front on the fitting. We're not doing that now. Anybody can get the fitting form emailed to them just by requesting it, and then they submit it, and I will go over it and contact them back. And it's been kind of slow on the response so far. Brady has the numbers. It was like 8 or 10 that got the fitting form, and I've had one completed and sent back and then had a discussion with him. But they're really good clubs. They're very solid, and they
Well,
look good.
Well, I'm basically playing it. I've been playing a set for about a year or two because it's basically the same set that I have in my bag, except mine don't have Surge and Doc written on them. Correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And having
Yeah.
surge
Okay.
on it makes them worth even more.
Yep.
So
Even hit them better. I'm just wondering if
that's
maybe.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
you just set the club down, it does the work.
You
Now,
think you
now we'll
think
sell out real
so?
quick.
Things have been a little bit slow. Do you think it might improve everything if once I can start swinging a golf club in a couple months that we offer them that I would train every set before you ship them out?
Hey, that would be a great idea. It would pass through your domain for the blessing to be upon them.
Yeah, and
Then they go
I'd
out.
hit every club a couple times and train it.
Yes, that would be good. Personally trained by the surge. That
Yeah,
would that would be great.
we might think about offering that deal. Uh, but anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing them. I mean, I know I even have the same drive, pretty much the same driver, because that's the one I got in my bag that I've been using for years. And
Right.
so I know they're good golf clubs, and the thing about it is I think the thing that everybody needs to understand is these are great clubs. I mean, you and I are both playing them, but it doesn't need to say Titleist or Callaway or TaylorMade to be a great club, because these club heads were made in basically, or forged, shall we say, and produced in the same factories that all the main OEMs.
That's exactly right. And
That means end
people
up marketing
need to
companies.
understand
End up
that.
marketing, yeah.
Yes.
And so some people think that the clubs that you all sell as as club fitters uh, are inferior because they don't have the top brand names on them, but they're not. And in fact, these are really better because
There-
ultimately, you guys, when you get them in, you check them a lot more than they check them. Would you just give a
Well,
quick synopsis on that?
it even starts before that in the foundry. Each company sets a criteria of what is acceptable, a variance between or we call tolerance variance, between what is supposed to be the actual spec and what will pass inspection. And every company to the T of what we build equipment-wise has a more stringent tolerance level than say at one of the OEMs, and we'll just use one of the big C names. You can pick it. There's two out there that start with C. When they go through the inspection process, their clubs can be out of spec more than what the heads that we build with are acceptable. Therefore, when you get a club, here's a perfect example. When I get in a set of DJ's clubs, he wasn't playing them like they were sent stock. We would take the heads off and rebuild them. But I would always check every set they sent to see how close they were to his specs. And not once did I find a set that was to his specs, which was, a half-inch long and 1 degree up. And I would also check his frequencies, which are supposed to be 4 cycles between shafts. They just didn't. I mean, his lie angles weren't right. His frequencies weren't right. And this is stuff that they were sending to one of their tour players and paying to play their equipment. So imagine what you would find in a golf store, just off the rack. And the really bad thing is that this particular company that DJ was playing for, when you compare their equipment to other companies, their equipment across the board was closer to spec than anybody else's. And I mean, there's some out there that are just, I mean, it's pathetic. The lie angles can vary from 8 clubs. You can have 8 different lie angles.
Yeah, and then you're looking also at the fact that when they get those heads in to whatever specs they want, the tightness if they keep to the advertised specs of how they're going to build that club in terms of the length, the lie, the frequencies, all that other stuff is not even maintained even one probably tenth as good as a fitter does. Correct?
Well, exactly. I mean, they may get in a pitching wedge that's supposed to be 47, and it could be 45, 46, could be 48, 49. They don't mess with it. They just take the head, put a shaft in it, send it out. So, I mean, you might get a set that has a pitching wedge at 49 and a 9-iron at 44 or 43, and you're just getting
they could be 1 degree off between a 9-iron and a pitch wedge, and you basically you got 2 of the same club.
Exactly, and that was one case before back when I first started working with DJ, and he had played a shot at Harbor Town, and he was debating between hitting a soft 5 or a hard 6, and decided to go with a hard 6. And when I checked his clubs out, there was 2 degrees difference in the loft of his club, and he was actually hitting, when he said he was hitting a soft 6 or a hard 6, he wasn't even hitting a 6-iron. So, I mean, it was, pretty sad that his clubs were off like that, but they were. And again, this is a set that the man's making a living with, and they don't check them up to make sure they're right.
When if the clubs are that off, he's not going to be making a living with them. And same thing with all regular golfers. They won't be shooting their handicap. To speak about golf clubs, I guess the most important thing about clubs is that you cannot ever trust that they're right, even as a tour player. And so and then once you play some clubs, you should get them checked every now and then, right, to make sure that the lies and lofts stay the same, especially if you got forged. What's a normal good time to check them? Once every 6 months or a year? I guess it depends on how much you play or practice.
That's exactly right. If you're a tour player and these are my tools, it depends on how much I'm practicing. If I'm hitting balls every day, I'm having them checked, especially if I'm playing a forge club. I'm going to have them checked every 2 to 3 weeks. But then I'm anal. That would be how, and I'd be checking them myself. I'd go in the tour van. I wouldn't give them to some schmo and say, hey, how about check this for me? I would check them myself, but, most tour guys aren't doing that. But my point is playing a forge club and hitting balls every day, I'd have them checked every 3 weeks. The average person who plays once a week and maybe practices once a week, forge club, you could get by and have it done like every 3 months.
Unless
a cast club, you can go longer, like twice a year.
Though, if you hit a really super hard pan or hit a stump or something, I'd go and check it right after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I
for
don't know
those,
nowadays if the tour would let a player go in the van and check them himself. I don't know if they'll really let that happen. Uh, Maybe unless you are the player. But I do know that when I had my when I was in the Pro Punch Crunch Club in Kennesaw, Georgia, and Larry Nelson played out of there, just about every time he came home and he brought his clubs out and came to the club in practice, he would go in my bag room and check his lines and lofts on my line loft machine. But then again, you can have a problem because different machines can read differently, right?
they shouldn't. If you get a Mitchell machine from one Mitchell to the next, they should be very
Well, yeah,
consistent.
if you got Mitchells, but if they're different brands of machines.
Yes, that could be off
Okay.
then.
Well, that's just the thing about club fitting now. All right, so let's move on. We got a list of things we want to cover. I guess the biggest thing that y'all again might be interested in is I like this is how I'm doing on my recovery, and I'd like to again start off by saying I can't thank you all enough for all the kind words and emails, and I've received a number of cards in the mail wishing me good luck on my operation and then in my recovery, and the recovery's going quite well. The operation was June 27th. They told me I was on a table for 8.5 hours, so I got beat up pretty good. And the first time I had my heart problem 4 years ago, I was in cardiac the critical care room, whatever they call it.
ICU.
I was in there for one night. This time I was in there for 3 nights, and so and I got out late the next day, and I went in the room. So I was everything was a lot longer. I was in and out in like 4 to 4.5 days the first time, and this last time I was out, it took like 8 days. But I'm doing well. I've started cardiac rehab at Spartanburg Regional. I'm in my second week right now. I go every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9:30, and I'm usually out by about 11. And they got me doing a treadmill and a couple other things and working up a sweat, and I'm starting to feel pretty good. The great news is that somehow I went to bed last Friday night, and I woke up Saturday, and I was feeling a lot better. My chest isn't hurting me that much anymore. I mean, I've still been very tingly and feel like I got a 1,000 pins and needles sticking in my chest, and that's pretty much quite a bit gone. I still got some pain shooting up and down my arms now and then, but overall I'm doing well. People that talk to me on the phone say I just even sound better, and since that Saturday I'm actually standing taller and more straight when I walk, and that's taking a little pressure off my back, and so I'm feeling a lot better there. Basically, I was okayed about 3 weeks ago to go and putt. So every night that the weather's good, I go out and I putt for at least. Now I'm putting sometimes up to an hour. The first couple nights, first week I went out, I could barely stay out there for 20 minutes because my chest was hurting so much and my back started to hurt going over, bending over. But that's going really well. I'm putting it really good right now, so you might not want to mess with me on the putting green because getting all this practice in. But I am stroking it well, and I'm feeling well, but I still won't be able to swing a golf club for probably another close to 2 months. And I'll probably know closer to that, I think the very end of this month or the first of next month, I have an appointment with the cardiologist. But outside of that, I'm doing okay. And so with that in mind, the health is pretty on good state of ground, so let's go from there. Maybe about a week ago, a daily came out where I did one on the state of golf, and boy, did that seem to get a lot of interest up. And I mean, it was really going good on the website. And I actually went and since I got a little bit more time on my hands, I went and checked it out, and I was reading some of the comments. And just in case you haven't seen the state of the golf, basically the gist of that one was that I think, as we all know, since the recession in 2008, golf has been spiraling downwards pretty badly in terms of golfers that are leaving the game, and in many cases, how many clubs are being closed because of lack of income and golfers to play in those situations. And as Doc and I can tell you, we basically went around the world pretty good. And I mean, I don't care where you go. It just isn't the United States. It's everywhere. Every place we went to in Australia, they were saying the same thing. Clubs are closing down everywhere. Sometimes in fact, we heard one story of two really good clubs in a small area got to a point where neither could make it on their own, and so the members got together and they had meetings and everything else, and they finally decided that what they needed to do was band together and create one club. And then they had to decide which one did they want. They decided they needed to sell one of them, so they decided which one did they want to sell and which one did they want to keep. And so now they're doing well as one club, but one club has bit the bullet now, and it's being turned into house lots and a development. So sadly to say, we lost a good club there, and that's common around many places. And if they're not being turned into house lots, many of them are just sitting there growing trees and weeds. And so that's sad. But one of the things I brought into about the problem of the state of affair in golf is I still think that golf is still even as the economy here is improving, it's still in a bad situation, because I felt that, and I believe without a doubt, and I think I stated it on that video, that the number one problem why golfers leave golf is because we all get into golf because, or most people do, because they find it as a challenge, a really good challenge, and they want to be, they like the outdoors, they like the fact that you can play it with friends, and you can have this camaraderie, and you can and you got the challenge to try to get better and everything else, and you want to play golf. That's a good word, play, which means you got to be able to go out there and do it. And the biggest problem so many golfers are having is when they go out there and play golf, when they get done playing, they feel like they've just been run over by a bus, or they've been the punching bag for the world heavyweight champion, warming up for the next fight. And so the sad thing is so they get done playing, they go home and they recover, and they know that 2 or 3 days later when they go out and play, history tells them that they're going to come back and be in the same physical position and situation, and they got to go through this. And then every now and then it gets really bad. They got to go get some type of shots, or go to the doctor and or go to chiropractors and acupuncture people, or go to physical therapists. And it's a never-ending thing. And then what seems to really be happening ultimately, though, is they might say, I could live with the pain if I could at least feel like I'm playing decent golf. If I could at least feel like I'm getting somewhere to my goals. And like I said on that video, everybody that's come to me for a golf lesson knows that I do a questionnaire and I ask you about what your handicap is, how long you've been playing, and I say, what are you looking for from this lesson? How much do you intend to practice? What do you want out of it? What's your handicap? How low do you want to go? And I find, sad to say, that most golfers actually have lower goals than what they should have, and the saddest part about it is, which they don't even reach those goals. They're underachievers to substandard goals, I think, and that's the sad part. And so at some point we start finally saying to ourselves, man, I'd like to play this game. I've taken lessons and I've done all of this stuff, and I just get worse, but I just can't take the pain anymore. I can't take the punishment. I can't afford the golf balls anymore. And so then that's why they're leaving. And I think in the end it's all because of one major, ultimately big thing. The first and foremost one is the majority of golf instruction is wrong. As you all know who come to this site, most of all of you who have found this site, found me by Googling something like pain-free swing or body-friendly swing or something like that. And as soon as you do that, you find me, and what's the first thing that as soon as you hear what I start talking about? This makes sense, yeah, because it involves physics, physiology. And then what? Why did you? So you think about it. It sounds good. You go out and do it, and you start hitting the ball better immediately. 99% of the people that I teach, 95% of the people I teach for the first lesson, when I do their diagnosis and everything else, and then I go and check them out, and I teach them what I want them to work with, and I make them make a lot of practice setups and swings, because the setup determines the motion. I get them, when I finally let them hit a golf ball, they hit a really good golf shot. And what's the number one thing most of you have probably heard, I've been told to you and heard other people tell you about? Well, you go for a golf lesson, and the first thing the pro says, well, you got to get worse before you get better, and it could be 6 months to 2 years to learn this swing. Hell, years back, #1 golfer in the world, went to a new teacher, and the guy told him it's going to take, he's #1 in the world. He had just won 2 majors in a row. The British Open and then a Masters. And this teacher tells the #1 ranked player in the world that if he works with him, it's going to take 6 months to 2 years for him to learn the golf swing. If the #1 player in the world is going to take 6 months to 2 years, what does the rest of us have, or at least the rest of average golfers got to do it? You should get some improvement immediately. Period. I'll say one other thing about this. I read this article in Golf Week. I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a young lady who finished. She turned pro, and she was playing on a mini tour, and she was working on her swing with a new teacher, and she got to the point where she had 2 tournaments in a row, one in San Francisco where she shot 90, and then the next week in Texas she shot 88, and she would in the first rounds of each, and she withdrew. So she finally went and found a new teacher, okay? And she said, "You got to help me." Now, she wasn't a very long ball hitter. She only on average 220 off the tee, and she could hit the ball off the planet. And she said that in an effort to gain more distance, she had sought advice from 3 instructors in a short period of time and suffered from erratic tee shots and a muddled brain. When someone who averages 220 yards off the tee starts hitting it 40 yards offline, both directions, that means she can lose it 40 left, 40 right, and everything in between, the result is chaos. And so this young lady's game had gone crazy. So she went and found this teacher, and he told her, and this is what the teacher told her, and it's in his words. "I told her to quit trying to hit it straight. He taught her to shape the ball on command with her driver to help eliminate the element of surprise." So I guess he did help her. The next tournament she shot 77, 73, and I don't know if that made the cut or not. And then she shot a pair of 75s. But we know that ain't going to cut it out there even on the mini tours. But at least she got it. That's a heck of a lot better than 80 to 90. But he told her to try to quit hitting the ball straight. And anybody that's been to me knows that my #1 premise is I think that hitting the ball straight is the easiest thing to do. The whole world tells you that straight shot's the hardest. Well, I think it's the easiest. And I think any of you that have come to me for lessons, whether it be private or schools, have learned that. And once you know how to hit it straight, then all the other shots become a lot more easy as a situational shots, not the situation shot, but working the ball video would tell you. All right? But you got to basically know how to hit it straight. Straight's the most important thing. If you can't hit it straight, how can you be sure that you can control a hook or a fade or whatever? So with that in mind, I'd like to bring, so that's just my topic here about the situation, the state of golf, and the state of golf is only going to get better when golf instruction gets better, because we're going to keep losing golfers when golfers can't play decently enough, and the whole thing is play. They want to go out and play and enjoy it and come back home feeling okay, that they could go right back out tomorrow and play and not have rehab after every time. Another point that the second part, I will say, I'm not going to get in detail here because you know it, but there's 2 major problems why we're having this problem with people leaving the game. The other one is equipment. Again, if your clubs are bad, how are you going to play good? And I don't want to get into a tirade here about club fitting. We already talked a little bit about it with Doc initially, with the Doc and Search clubs that we came out with, and so clubs are important. There's no 2 ways about it. And so, and like what I originally, when I had people call me up and said, "Hey, I want to go see Doc for club fitting. I'd like to get a lesson from you," because Doc and I are about an hour and a half apart. And I did that a number of times. But I always said, well, let me give you a lesson first so you fitting can be better. And after 2 times, I finally figured out when the clubs are really bad, let them get the fitting first so that Doc knows what they need. And then and if their clubs are bad, I'm not even going to use their clubs in a lesson. I'm going to use the clubs he tells me, said this is the ones that fit him, and boom, the improvement was phenomenal. So again, one of the other biggest problems is people are playing with ill-fitted clubs. Now they want to tell you that, hey, these clubs are friendly clubs. They're going to help you if you make a bad swing, hit a better shot, and all this other stuff. Well, think about this: if they give you a bigger face, which says it has bigger sweet spots, but we know that's a lie. Just go look up the word sweet spot. It's about the size of the tip of this pen, okay? And so that's it. Now I can move it around on the club face, but I can't make it bigger. So the bigger the club they give you, you don't get a bigger sweet spot. You just get more club face to be able to miss the sweet spot by more and hit a worse shot. Now add on that the clubs are too long, the lies are too far off, the lofts aren't consistent between them, the lies aren't consistent, and you wonder why golfers having problems playing golf. And so again, you got a double whammy. And then you go take lessons, and you start making your swing better, and now this club, which is designed for you to hit bad swings and hit better shots, you can't take the stripes off the Tiger, and now you got a club that's working against you. So fitting is so important. All right? So, and that's our two areas of why golfers are having a lot of problems and leaving the game. Bad swing is too difficult to learn. It beats up the body too much, and then we got clubs beating us up too. Another topic I read in Golf Magazine, Golf Week, was on page in the Golf Week issue of July 28th. Oh, this one actually came from Golf World, and July 28th, and it's titled. It's in some letters to the editor, are written in by readers, and it says Davies on target about alignment. Kudos to Laura Davies for suggesting that. Laura Davies is a British LPGA player, and I believe she's in the Hall of Fame. She's won all kinds of tournaments all over the world. And kudos to Laura Davies for suggesting that professional women golfers do not need to be lined up by their caddies on the tee and other places. There was an article about it in the July 21st issue. Pro golfers should be able to line themselves up to the target. I think that the USGA would address this matter given its concerns about pace of play and saving time. Then a second letter came in and said, Laura Davies, the person signed his name, I'm not going to read it, I'm not going to say who it is. Laura Davies and Sophie Gustafson are on spot with their comments on caddy alignment and ball line use on the pro tours. Tour play, but that's where you got your balls and they got that little line, or people draw a line on it and they get down behind the ball and they fidget it with it to get it right, and they get up over the ball and it doesn't look right and they go back down the ball and they go back and forth. So tour pros practice and play every day. Their caddies and coaches are constantly monitoring every phase of their setup and swings. Yet many of them still can't take it to the tournament tee without help. As for a putting line of the ball, aren't the lines on the majority of putters used enough? Some players are just too insecure and putting way too much blame for offline shots on misalignment. Now, that sentence, I don't agree with that player, because if you, again, you've been with me and almost every time, every question that comes in on a daily, what's one of the first things I have to talk about as to why the problem with the swing could have been happening because of bad alignment. So that one's a misconception. But we need to learn how to line up on our own. And I think that from things I've heard, probably the next big ruling that's going to come down from the USGA is going to be that you can't get lined up by a caddy or your partner anymore. You're going to have to do it on your own. And so if you presently have somebody helping you, you better go out and get the ultimate alignment video and learn how to line up, because at some point that's going to be going bye-bye. All right, now the next big thing I want to talk about here is guess who? If you've been watching again for the last couple of weeks, you've noticed the British Open. Rory McIlroy won it, and he won it pretty much running away until the last round, and then Sergio got within 2 shots of him and ended up losing by 2 with Sergio and Ricky Fowler finishing second. And then this week's run-up to the PGA Championship, I mean, the big talk was Tiger Woods. He had to withdraw from the tournament the week before, the World Golf thing, and because he had a big side hill lie on a bunker, and when he fell backwards and he had to big step back into the bunker, I said to my wife, Susan, as soon as I saw that, I said, boy, I hope he didn't jerk his back out with that one, stepping that far back. And sure enough, it came out. And I read an article the other day. I should have copied it, but I didn't. But it said that he kind of wrenched his back and got him with some pinched nerves and everything else, and that his trainer got him fixed up. But I came across this quote in Golf Week, July 18th, and it's in the four caddy section called the Four Caddy, and it's a quote about from Paul Azinger on Tiger Woods. And this is a quote: I think that most golfers have made the same mistakes in some weird way about changing their golf swing, about changing fingerprints, if you will, for fundamentals, and I think Tiger has done this to his detriment, and Jack Nicklaus never made those mistakes. Jack understood that if he could stay the same, he would still dominate. Tiger didn't need to get better, he just needed to not get worse. Didn't need to get worse. He needed to stay the same and he could still dominate, And in his quest to get better, it's kind of backfired on him. And as we all know, Tiger Woods in the last 5 years has changed pros twice, and I think he got worse each pro he went. And I've said it before on dailies, and I'll say it again. Tiger Woods has got too much turn. His spine goes down on the way down, and his head pops up, and he goes up and down like a yo-yo, and he's turning his hips through the ball too much. And in all reality, I believe without a doubt I could fix Tiger Woods in 30 minutes, and if it takes that long, he's a slow learner. Now, once I give him the quick answer as to what to do and prove it to him, then I'd like him to sit down with me, and I'm going to explain everything to him, because when you understand what's got to happen, you have knowledge and understanding, you then have commitment and conviction, because what the brain tells the muscles what to do. So I think Tiger Woods is I just find it hard to believe that he's worked so hard for 4 or 5 years on a swing and he hasn't got it yet. And I mean, if number one can't get it, like I just talked to about the number one 2 years that a little earlier, that he went to a new teacher and the pro told him it's going to take you 6 months to 2 years to learn the swing. It shouldn't. Everybody should get better from the first lesson, and you know that happens with PPGS. So with all that in mind, I think we're about that 30-minute mark, and I think Brady, you got some questions that we need to answer. I can't hear you, Brady. What, is something wrong here?
Sorry, yeah, I had my microphone muted. Sorry. Yeah, we got some questions that came in the question and answer module. We've lost Doc. Can you see the questions, Don? They're on the if you click the Q&A module on your screen, they're on the right hand side. The first one is from a Vic Forsyth.
I can't. Oh, Q&A on
Q&A.
Okay.
Yeah, Q&A.
Q&A's on my left.
Yep.
It's on this side of my screen. That's the left.
Yep. So the first one I have from Vic Forsyth says, Don, when I reach the top of my backswing, the club is vertical, and I do the bump to start the club down. What should my hands be doing on the club during the beginning of the downswing? Okay, the beginning of the downswing, or sometimes we also call that the forward upswing. Well, when your arms are swinging up and your bump starts this way, what the beauty of the bump is that it now starts the stretching of all the muscles from your ankles all the way up through your legs into your hips, your back muscles up to your shoulders, your hands and arms. So there's a moment in time when both halves of the body separated at the waist upper is upper, waist down is the lower. When the lower body starts to bump and it finally hits the trigger at the top, there's a moment in time, as I said, they're both going in different directions. The lower's going that way, the upper's still going this way with the hands and arms. When it finally reaches that point and the hands are about to get pulled down, there's got to be a winner. They're going to keep going up or they're going to be pulled down. That's where we want them to be pulled down. At that split second, you better have a lot of firmness in your fingers, your hands, your wrist, and up your forearms, because if you don't, you're going to get a lot of this down cock. And if you're listening to if you've been watching the British Open and the tournament last week, the world thing, and then now you're gonna and they were talking about it on the Golf Channel last night about Sergio having a down cock. Down cock sounds good, but it's dangerous. If you let it down cock too much, you're eventually going to have a change in your left wrist if you're talking about a right-hander. When I get up to the top, I want both of my hands to feel like my fingers, my hands, and my wrists are fused, so that when they come down, the angle is going to stay the same. So the angle's staying the same. The club is staying up in the air, but the club will get, from a side view, pulled downward and laid off just a little bit. And that's where the right hand really has to get very active here, and that you got to minimize that down cock, because the spine angle change. When my spine angle changes and the head goes back a little bit, that causes that little bit of laying the club off. And from there, you got to stop that as much as you can. So we don't want the down cock, the wrist to change in the down cock, and we got to stop that laying the club off. And that when you down cock too much, it's going to lay the club off more. That's, I think, the problem Sergio has. Now, we know he talk about how great a ball striker he is, and maybe he's probably hitting the ball good, but there's a lot of error in that swing, and that's something that can start causing a lot of problems. So you want at your hands and arms, from the fingertips to the forearm, right just below the elbow, has to be firm, and you want to hold that angle
as you're going to come all the way into impact, and then at the last second, the hands are going to square up at impact and square up, and then from there you go into the forward catches mid-toe up and up the tree. So that transition is going to hit some, you're going to have some pretty serious forces hitting your fingers, your hands, your wrists, and your forearms, and you got to maintain that and try to, in your mind, keep that club as vertical as you can. And in the transition, and then swing up and square the club up to impact, swing into the forward mid-toe up the tree till you finish, recoil and relax. So hopefully that answers that question.
All right. We got another one from Lou Kazitz. How do you get out of wet packed down sand? I tend to scull the ball across the green or dig too deep and the ball stays in the trap.
All right, so I guess we're talking about a greenside bunker here. And so how do you get out of wet packed sand that's packed down? Okay, well, in many cases the sand is so packed that if you really hit down on it, the club and get the leading edge gauge too much, you're gonna dig down too much and probably hit a flub shot, which could stay in a bunker or barely get out. One of the best things to do in that, and when the sand is it's still wet, you got to try to go in there with less bounce, because and try to might want to try to have to almost pick the ball a little bit clean. Hold your wrist firm and try to nip the ball out of there, because if the sand is packed and wet, so it's going to be difficult to move that sand enough to get the club through and maintain the speed, any kind of speed, to get the ball out. So I think in many cases that's the type of shot you might have to really work at trying to nip the ball a little bit clean, with say even a pitching wedge sometimes, and nip it clean, or if you got a lob wedge which has less bounce on it, that might work. But the thing about it is that is a really difficult shot, and it takes practice to get it, but you got to really make sure that you keep the wrist firm going through, and when you try to clip that off the ground, like almost like, again, just the club barely touches the ground, and you snap that club up in the air. That's a very difficult shot, and I guess the only way it's tough to practice it sometime unless you can find a bunker that get out there after rain at your golf course and go find a bunker that the sand is still really packed down and wet.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question. We had another question from Steve Rosenberg. It says, "Hi Don, vertical swing from the down the line view with a clock in front of you, the club is perfectly vertical. From the front on view with the clock behind you, the club head is about 1 or 2 o'clock due to momentum when taking the club back. Thanks." That's a little bit of mouthful. Can you see that question, Don?
Yeah, I can see it. I had somebody write in a question right into me the other day about, he said that he was looking at the one about the definition of the vertical golf swing, and he said that he put measurement things on there to measure me and everything else, and that I wasn't totally perfectly vertical, and so the thing y'all got to understand is when I'm out there in the yard and I'm shooting a video, a daily, and I'm talking and I'm moving around and I'm demonstrating, many times I'm not in my perfect setup, and I'm getting close enough, really, really close, but I'm off just a little bit now and then. And so sometimes I'd say, if anything, cut me a little bit of slack. And when you're looking at it, if I'm standing here from down the line and I'm looking at a student and I'm looking at him either down the line or forward, when I look at the club face, I got a clock back there and I'm looking at it at the top of the swing. It should be at 12 o'clock. And in all honesty, the perfect setup, the perfect position at the top of the backswing, even with a 3/4 swing. Now here's the definition of 3/4. 3/4, say, if I'm looking at somebody here, and you can see me face on right here, this pen is about 3/4. A lot of people think that the ultimate swing is to be here with the club perfectly 12 o'clock. Now, again, from the back view, that's 12 o'clock. It makes it easy when you get a nice swivel chair to do this. That would be 12 o'clock, right? Now, I'm not going to change the club. I'm just going to slide a little bit more over here. So a lot of people think this is really not a 3/4 swing. That's about a half a backswing, all right? So 12 o'clock is when, if I swing the club all the way up to this point, I'm going to have to put my screen back a little bit more, and I get up here, and my club gets up to here. Now, if I'm still, you see this club? The thing is right there. This is the pen, all right? Now I come back over here, and see how it's 12 o'clock? It doesn't look 12 o'clock from here. If there was a clock up here now, behind me, I'd be looking, this might be, I guess, 10 or 11 on this side, all right? But as soon as I go and I don't change a thing and I get here, see it's 12 o'clock. Ultimately, the perfect position at the top of the backswing is not totally 12 o'clock. It should be going back at the clock to about, again, if the clock is back before me, 10, 11, 12 is here, 12's here, and then 1's over there. It should go over about just a fraction from the back view. The perfect position is to cross the line a degree or 2 or 3 at the most. Why? Because when you swing your hands up in front of your body this way, you see how your hands fold over and they come back this way and then this way? The perfect position should come up where you're going to go. There's 12 o'clock. It should go just about 12:05. And so if you cross that 12 o'clock line to 12:01, 2, 3, 5 at the most, you come back this way. Then you got your action-reaction. So again, that's why when people lay the club off over here and they're going to change direction, well, what's the reaction from laid off? This club over here would be over there about 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12:05. I got a better reaction to come back and then swing into the position. So there's pictures of this in the manual, but I guess the thing is to understand where the clock is that you're looking at it. And I know it can get confusing, and I hope I just didn't confuse you. But I know one thing: I got it right in my mind, and so hopefully I got to try to get it better into your mind. But you can't go wrong at 12 o'clock if you're at 12 o'clock at the top of the backswing from here. But the biggest thing we're finding in golf schools is that people think about the club 12 o'clock right here. Well, that's only a right angle. You need to let your arms up here at least ear to head high. And when you get there from that position, you can still be 12 o'clock. You can still get up there at 12, but you can see from here, it's going to be still 12 o'clock when I get there. All right. So the backswing 3/4 is up at this angle at the top of your backswing, and you want space between the head. There should always be at least a foot or so between the shaft and your head. When you start doing this and getting wrist cock and you see the people they turn too much and their arm breaks down and the club is going across the back of their head, you've lost your width of arc. And we want just a natural width of arc, and that's maintained by maintaining the left wrist. Okay, hopefully that answers that question.
All right, hey, we got a late join here with another question.
Ricky
we had Mr. Ricky Potts, who is the Ricky Potts, if you don't know, is the online golf community owner for the largest golf community on Google+, and he just sent in a question to Don.
And I've been on he's had me as I guess a speaker on one of his.
He does these Friday foursomes every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, I think. And Don's been a guest of one of those Friday foursomes, and invited him to just hang out. And he just sent in a question asking about Tiger. He says, "Great to see you using Google Hangouts on air." Thanks, Ricky. Based on how he is playing, what is wrong with Tiger? If you were coaching him, what would you change? He says, hope all's going well. So, I mean, we've already actually talked about this a little bit in Hangout, but I guess we can go over it again.
Really quick. When you got a gentleman a golfer that's as physically fit as he is, it seems almost ridiculous that he can have all these back issues and other issues that he's had too. I believe he's had other problems too that he's had to get fixed. All right, now, I don't believe, as anybody who comes to Swing Surgeon knows, I don't think that anybody can play consistent golf when you got all kinds of upper body movement, whether it be up or down, or backwards and forwards and up and down. And Tiger Woods is up and down like all over the place. And so the biggest thing I'd need to do is get him into he turns too far out of the ball. I would get him into a much better position at address. I'd get him preloaded heavy right. I would get him back to three quarter. So I'd get him vertical again because he's laid off. I'd get him to have a lot more stable lower body, and then keep him stable. And then the only thing he needs to do is learn the 3/4 limited turn peak performance swing. And in all reality, he was pretty close to it in his amateur days. Because if you go and Google Tiger Woods U.S. Amateur Championships, and you see the 3 championships that he won, first one he won at I believe it was Sawgrass. The second one was at Newport Country Club, and the third one was at up in Oregon at I can't think of the name of the place, but DJ Wood, that was the first U.S. Amateur he played in, and we went out and watched Tiger. He had basically a 3/4 swing, a little more turn than I'd like, but he didn't. But he was 3/4. The club was not as vertical as I like, but it was a heck of a lot better than it is today. But basically, Tiger Woods' problem is the same one I see with a lot out there. You can't turn yourself 90 degrees and keep your head still. There's almost no human being alive who can start with their nose at the ball and turn 90 degrees and still have their nose at the ball. If you look at Tiger Woods at address, face on, like I can see myself, you can see me on the camera right here on your screen, and his nose is at the ball. By the time he turns and gets to the top of his backswing, his left arm, where mine is over my toe line, his left arm will have turned to that. It's at 90 degrees to his toe line. So how far did he just turn his shoulders? Got to be at least 130 yards or more, 30 degrees or more. All right? So now, and at that point, look at where his nose is pointing. His nose is now pointing 3 or 4 feet behind the ball. I mean, it's highly if he can see the ball, it's so far out there in the corner of his eye, in his peripheral vision, it's unbelievable. So now he's got to come back and find the golf ball. Now he's Tiger Woods. He's a tour player. He knows where it's at. He can still do it, but it's still nothing like having pure focus. And pure focus is critical. Because one of the things pure focus shows you is, as Dr. Armstrong once said, you have a tripod when you hit a golf ball. Your legs support your body to create a tripod, 2 legs of your tripod, and your third tripod is your eyes to the ball, which is creating your focus to create and to give you a mental view of the distance of where you are from the ball. And so if it is hit when your head moves that much, and then when you start down, your spine goes down, and then your head comes back up again. How can you maintain a pure focus? Your third leg of the tripod of hitting a golf ball, which is your vision, is bouncing around up and down. And I mean, look what happened to him in that tournament after he hurt his back. I mean, he started hitting real chunky monkeys. And one of them, he hit it so bad he didn't even carry. He hit it into the front of a lake that was in front of a green.
So and the latest news is it's like all over every sports channel and every CNN and everything else is like, even though he withdrew from the Bridgestone tournament, that he's coming back in the PGA Tour, PGA Championship.
He shot 3 over par today. He shot 70. I think he shot 74. He was 3 over. I think he had 1 birdie, 3 bogeys. So he played a somewhat steady round. He had a lot of pars. I didn't get to see what his stats were, but he was at the time only half the field was finished, so he was up there about ranked really high. But he shot 4 over, so I would guess that definitely will very likely be outside the cut line, and so we can. So that's where he stands on that right now, and. But I just don't think anybody, especially with the big recoil and when you go up and down and you're going up and down like a yo-yo, there's just no way you can play consistent golf because your eyes alone are causing you a big problem. And and especially when you're rotating through the shot and you're going up and down. I mean, you might as well be trying to play golf standing on a waterbed. And I don't think that's very easy to do. I haven't ever tried it, but I don't think anybody could really do it. And then consequently, all that torquing is really putting extreme stress on his body, and he's paying the penalty for it big time. And so and it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse, because when a certain swing caused a problem, and you come back and you still got the same setup and the same swing, the problem's going to come back because you haven't fixed it. And the peak performance swing, as we all know, is the body friendly golf swing. And I'm just looking on my desktop right now. Even par is tied for 56th, and 1 over par is actually tied for 85th. So that means that's way outside the cut line right now. But not everybody's in, so that those things might drop a little. But right now, 3 over par is tied for 119 on the PGA Tour, the PGA Championship. Okay, so I guess are there any more questions? Anything come in late?
No, that's the only. Wait, actually, that was all the questions that came in through the Q&A module. There actually was an additional question that came in the comments. Let's see if I can find it real quick. It's from a James Thompson. He said, "What would you consider the 3 most important tips in putting?"
Okay, well, number one thing they talk about in putting is really keeping your body still. And I mean, when you look at good putters, good players, and you will see that on tour, that basically their legs, most of them putt from relatively narrow stances. But if you watch them, you watch them putt, you don't see movement in their legs, and that's why I really like to watch the LPGA, because since they're wearing Bermuda shorts and skirts and stuff, you can really see their legs. The men, you got to kind of watch the ruffling of the pants leg or whatever, because they have to wear long pants. But you'll see that they don't move. Keep the head dead still. Keep the eye still, and that your stroke should be basically a shoulder stroke where the triangle of your hands, arms, and shoulders move together. So you still need perfect alignment. A lot of people talk about possibly putting from a slightly open stance, but the club face has to be square to your intended start of the golf ball on the line you have to start it on at the moment of impact, and get the ball rolling. And there's 2 putting videos on the site. One is with DJ and I, and then the other one is the Putting Secret by Jack Moore, and they're very good. And we talk about setup fundamentals. We talk about the stroke. There's plenty of talk today in the last few years about does the putter come straight back and straight through, which should have the putter actually going shut to slightly open, or does it arc inside a little bit, arc in a little and straighten up arc in a little and straighten up at impact, exactly where the face aimed at the starting line, and then rotate over a little bit. So whatever it opens on this side, it should go back to square, sort of like we call toe up to toe up in the swing. And then somebody came out a while back with that you arc in a little bit here, but when you come back to the ball, you go straight down the line. So they call that one inside, and then after impact and down, you stay down the line. You don't arc in again. And there's a lot of people think that's got some credence to it. I agree with I can buy into the inside and down the line. I can buy into inside square, and then it turns over a little bit, because that's the way the arms rotate. But the one about the putter coming straight back, which brings it back shut to square, and then it's going to go out the other way, I don't go for that one, because of the fact that it's making your arms rotate exactly the opposite way you're designed to rotate. And again, that's violating the concept, as we talk about in a swing, where you have to come back with your hands rotating backwards into the mid toe up, and it squares up at impact, and then from there you go into the forward mid toe up. So I think we got your putter still has to conform to the way you're designed, your arms connected to the ball and socket joint, where it rotates, your arms rotating the ball and socket joint, that you still got to have this rotation of basically what we'd call toe up to optimize putting. But the big thing is to really keep still. I should be just slightly in over the ball or slightly inside, so that you get good vision. And the head just like hitting at a golf shot should roll straight this way. You don't be looking up like this at the ball. Your head should roll straight up and down. So basically, the big thing is keep still. Get the shoulders engaged. You just don't want to be flicking at it with your wrists or whatever. And once you develop a stroke, the next thing is developing your path and then developing your touch.
Hey, so we actually got two last-minute questions here. Doc's having some problems with his internet. He's not able to get back online. I'm getting some text message over my cell phone.
He had problems with his internet connection last time we were on.
So there's a person from Gail Sander just sent in a question, and there's one more after this, but it's actually a pretty good one. He said, unfortunately, I was able to hear most of the talk. Back to Tiger. If definition of his insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting this different results, have you ever reached out to him to see if the PPGS body-friendly swing is for him? I just find it funny, going after old aphorism that, trying to do the same thing over and over and expecting different results is the quintessential definition of insanity. So,
well, again, let's go back. Let's just go back to the. Let me just go back to the what Paul Azinger said. He said Nicklaus never made those mistakes of changing his swing. He understood that if he could stay the same, he would still dominate. Now, some people want to use the cliche that maybe if you're staying the same, then people are going to be passing you by. But if you got something that works, I haven't changed my swing in 30 years since I figured out PPGS. I'm always trying to tighten it, and by tighten it I mean something gets a little bit awry, and I go and videotape myself and I look at it and I fix it. And that's the same thing that I do with DJ. And in fact, there's a question about DJ, and I'd like to answer that. So
that's the next question. Answer that one. That's the next question.
But Tiger went and changed everything. I mean, come on, let's get real. He won 3 U.S. Junior Amateurs in a row and 3 U.S. Amateurs. Who's done that? Nobody. All right, now I would say that might be a good bet that nobody else is going to do it. He's won 14 majors faster than anybody else ever did it, and then he went and changed everything. And again, to me, the thing that's insane about what Tiger is doing is when he changed the first time, and he had trouble learning it. At some point in time, you just got to say, "Hey, I'm number one in the world. I'm one of the best golfers that ever lived, if not the best. If I can't do this, then something's wrong with this swing. Blame the swing, not you." See, that's the big thing I always see in golf. Golfers tend to always blame themselves and not the technique. And so sometimes I think we need to lighten up on ourselves. And in this case, I don't know, maybe Tiger's just got to the point where he says, "I'm Tiger Woods, and I'm going to beat this, and I'm going to make this swing work." Well, hey, that might sound bravado, but I think it's stupid. Because why? If you're the best and you can't do it, and you've been working on it now for 5 years between his last 2 teachers, I'm sorry, man, it don't work. I mean, it just doesn't work. And like I said, I could fix him in 30 minutes. Now, if I tried to reach out to him, he's tough to reach out to. Plus the fact he's got a golf professional teaching him, and we kind of have this thing called the code of ethics in the PGA. Now, I don't know if everybody lives by it, but I do. And one of them is I'm not going to go and try to steal a student from somebody. Hey, I use this for him and say, "Hey, if you know Tiger Woods, call him up and tell him that what you heard me say." But I personally am not going to go and try to find him out. I can find his number. I know somebody's that I can call that can probably find his number, but I personally am not going to pick up the phone and do him. Now, if he hears this message, or he reads about me somewhere, or he Googles body pain-free, pay-free swing or back-friendly swing, and he gets me, and he comes to the website and goes to customer service and sends a message to me and gives me his phone number, then I'll call him. But I maintain professional ethics, and I don't go out there and walk up to pros. In all the years I've been on tour, I don't walk up to people, even if I know them, even people that DJ's his best friends. I have not gone up to them and said, "Hey, you know what? and he's had a couple of bad problems, and I don't go up to him and say, I could help your golf swing. If they can't see that DJ is hitting a golf ball and making them, and they can't even sniff what he does, and he doesn't have any back problems, then and want to ask me. And I tell you what, it's hard to believe that many of them, in all the years I've been out there with DJ and amateur and pros, that how few pros have ever asked me even a question about what I teach, because I guess they believe in their teachers. But in the end, the proof of the pudding's in the tasting. And I don't think when you can't hit a ball and keep it in play, especially with a driver, and you don't hit the ball consistently solid, and you can't control your ball, and you hit some awful shots. Well, hey, we can all hit an awful shot now and then, but now and then is really rare. Okay, so I would think that yeah, I can help Tiger, but I'm not. I'd love to pick the phone up, but it's not ethical for me to do that in this business.
All right. We're closer to 1 hour mark. Let's grab our last questions from Robert Fleck, who is a very proliferant commenter on the blog. Robert's been with us for many years, and we enjoy hearing from him and a lot of the other Surgites that frequent the website. So Robert Fleck's got a question about DJ. He said, one more last question. I see that DJ shot -2 today. He's played really well the last 3 weeks. What has been the biggest change for him?
Okay, the biggest change is simply that he's starting to putt the ball better. I mean, for the last 5 or 6 years, until his last win, which was the 2008, what used to be called the Bob Hope Desert Classic, he was putting the ball pretty well. He was actually working, Jack Moore was working with him, Jack Moore of the Putting Secret video. Jack had him putting the ball really well. He won that tournament, and I think basically if you go back look at his putting stats, it started declining sometime after that, fairly close after that. Anybody that knows, that's followed DJ and will know that overall he's always been predominantly a pretty prolific ball striker. He's been always, for a number of years, and maybe only a year or two after the tournament win at the Bob Hope, did he his ball striking started to deteriorate also, and he got to a point where his ball striking for him got very poor. But there was a number of years where he was in the top 10 to 15 in driving distance, driving accuracy. He was in the top 10 or less in fairways and greens in regulation, but he always had these issues. He started having these issues with putting, and today, if you go look at his stats, his driving accuracy was only 42%. But again, 42% could also mean that he just missed the fairway a little bit, was in the first cut. All right? Many days when I've seen poor driving stats on him, and I talked to him, he says, yeah, I was only a foot off the fairway on every one I missed. I didn't even hit one off past the short range. And just like a lot of times his greens and regs might be down, he might be 2 inches off the green or a foot off the green, and he's in that short fringe on the green, but he's not on a green. But today his greens and reg was 77.78%, and he's above the tour average on that up to now, and they're still playing out there, so that's not done. And his putting average is 1.857, which is a little bit above the tour average right now, but again, a lot of guys aren't finished, so that's going to get lower. DJ's putting has been his biggest problem. Personally, he's been kind of trying to work it out on his own, and I would like to see him get back with Jack, because the last time he really putted good was when Jack was working with him, and everything that he was doing then is right in that video on the website, the Putting Secret. But DJ did lose his swing for a while. He never left peak performance. He just wasn't paying attention enough. And I actually put my foot down with him about a year and a half ago, and I sent him a big 2-page letter, like I do at the end of the year. I send him one, the state of the game, and I go over everything I see in the previous year and the good the mediocre and the things I want to work on, and I type them up, that letter, and I send it. It's always 2 to 3 pages, and I tell him what we're going to work on this year. Well, it got to a point where he wasn't paying attention to that, and as I said, he never left the swing, but he wasn't paying attention to details. He wasn't paying attention to what I call technical excellence. And I got to the point where the times I was out with him, I could be standing there in the range watching him hitting balls, and he's not hitting it really good. And in a span of 5 minutes, I've seen him adjust his setup 3 or 4 times, or adjust his swing, and he's got setup and swing changes going on. And I'd say to him, "What are you doing?" And he started answering me. He said, "Well, I'm trying to figure out what's wrong." And I say, "Deej, what's there to figure out? There's nothing to figure out what's wrong. What is secret, or once you notice 5 secrets, they become rules? What is rule number 5? When you hit a bad shot and you say to yourself, what did I do wrong? The answer is, who cares? Do the next one right." And I went through 4 or 5 months with him where I saw him out there basically, groping around in the dark trying to find something with me standing there. And when I'd say something to him, it was like I might have well have been talking to a tree stump. And then I see him all these changes. So I'd keep reminding him, and I'd say, "Deej, get back to your fundamentals. Rule number 5. Fundamentals in your setup, fundamentals in your swing. Technical excellence." And when I saw that he was not listening to me, I finally wrote him a letter, and in the letter, it was 2 pages, and I wrote him a whole bunch of stuff, and the last paragraph started out, and I said, "I quit. I'm not your coach anymore. I'm just your father." I said, "From now on, I'm not going to ever talk to you about golf again. I'm only going to, you can talk about anything you want, but not golf. And if you do want to talk about me about golf, the next call's on you, because I will never bring it up until you decide you want to listen to me. And when you do call me, if you do call me, you're going to be playing by my rules, which is when I say do something, you're going to do it. And if you stop it, if you don't do it, and I give you a warning, you're going to get 2 warnings. The 3rd one, I'm leaving the range, and that's it." I said, "I'm not going to put up with this baloney anymore of not listening, and every time I see you, it's another setup, it's another swing, and if I stand there for more than 5 minutes on the range, I'm going to see more than one setup and swing." The peak performance swing has the 5 rules. 4 of them are setup, and 1 is the final one about playing. It works for everybody, and you're the best example of it if you get back to it. So I wrote him that letter, and when he called me and he finally said, I said, "Fine, but just remember, we're playing by my rules again. When you were an amateur and you listened to me, if I told you anything, you did it to the nth degree." I said, "You got to get back to that. You were the #1 ranked amateur in the world, collegiate player of the year. I mean, one of the top ranked amateurs in the country. They didn't have that really big rankings back when he was there, but he got to be the #1 ranked amateur in the world for a while, and collegiate player of the year." And I said, "I can get you back there. The swing got you there. It'll get you back." So he's been basically listening and paying attention with the swing. He's swinging really well. Anybody of you that's been out there seeing him, he's 3/4. He's limited turn, and I mean, he's actually thinking good about it, because I remember when he was 3/4 and he was still turning too much. Every time I saw him, I'd say, "Deej, you're too deep. You're too deep." So one day he called me and he said, "Dad," he said, "every time you come and you say anything about my swing, the 3/4 is good, the vertical is good, but you say I'm turning too much. What do you think about the thought is if when I take the club back, I feel like my left shoulder never moves in the backswing?" I went, "Duh. Hell, if your left shoulder doesn't move, that means you're not turning very much, does it?" And what's one of the biggest things I say to most students that I get who are rotational players? I say, "I want you to feel from the waist up that once you get the wide knees and outward pressure from the waist up, all you do is what? You hold your knees and you just lift your arms, and you feel like you're not even moving your body. And from takeaway to impact, you feel like nothing moved, which you from your waist up. And boom, that's how we get him hitting the ball good." And so he's been working on that. And so, but he has been working on his putting, and he says it's getting better and better. But I'd really think it could get better a lot faster. I don't know. I mean, we talk about putting a little bit now and then, but like I said, I haven't been able to be out with him now for like almost 2 months, because since I started getting ill and had the surgery, and I can't get out there at all. So I don't know. He hasn't worked with anybody on putting, and he's doing it himself. But I'd like to get him together with Jack and And so DJ, if you listen, which I don't think he is, give Jack a call, and I think you'll find your putting gets a lot quicker because, like anything else, fine tuning. You get a better job of fine tuning, getting back to fundamentals. When you got it's even better when you got a good pair of eyes and know what they're looking for to look at you, and get that, see it and get the feeling back in your setup and your stroke. But the biggest issue for DJ has been basically putting, and that's probably it more than anything. And today his putting strokes are below two putts and right about the tour average. So I think that's where we see the 2 under par, and hopefully it'll stay there and get even lower.
All right, so we're about roughly 10 minutes over, and we lost Doc to some technical issues. So I guess we need to wrap it up here. We've answered all the questions that we have. So it's over to you, Don, for some closing comments.
Well, the only closing comment I'll make is, first of all, I want to thank you all for coming and listening to this, and whether you're here for a shorter time or the whole time. And just keep an eye out for the announcements. We're going to do another one. Probably another week or two. We'll have another Google Hangout, and hopefully by then Doc will be able to get his
we'll work on
hookup or whatever, his hookup fixed, or I don't know, maybe he needs to pay the bill for the service. I don't know, but I guess he does pay it because he was online, but he just can't seem to stay there.
We'll work on his problems in between.
Yeah, I guess maybe he needs to call you and see if there's something, if you can figure something out, Brady. But outside of that, keep hopefully it might be another month before I can do dailies, because I'm still stuck with that. I can't lift more than 10 pounds, and it takes a lot of energy and weight to drag that mat out there and everything else. So if I can find some other way to do it, I got a little mat. I might do one with the little mat in the meantime, once I can. But I can't swing, so I guess if I can't swing a club, maybe I can at least move my arms and try to get some dailies done with that in the next couple of weeks, if I get permission to do that, and we'll get that going.
Yeah, or we just record some from the office there, so.
Yeah, I could answer. So go ahead, keep sending in questions to customer service. I have my pad here, and it's got my pad here has got sheets on it. And so I could actually maybe just answer some of these in the and do dailies in my office here, or out in the backyard in the shade or something. But we'll try to get something going. So keep an eye out for the hangouts and keep sending in questions, and we'll get those answered, and keep spreading the word about Peak Performance Golf Swing, because hopefully every golfer that you can at least talk into coming and looking at the site and taking a PGS swing and starting to do it, is maybe you just saved the golfer from quitting, and we can all be helping out saving the game of golf, because a lot of golfers are leaving, and that's not good for the sport. So anyways, thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate everything, and Brady, good job, and as I say in the dailies, we'll be talking with you all again soon.
See ya.